Anthony Martial and Manchester United have called it quits after almost a decade together. A 19-year-old Martial joined the Red Devils in 2015 for an initial fee of 50 million euros, along with additional clauses of up to 30 million euros more, making it the highest ever fee paid for a teenager at the time. One of the clauses included a payout in case of a Ballon d'Or win by 2019. This was a statement to his potential, even though the price was heavily scrutinized even back then. The English media was quick to mount pressure on the young teenager, with talks about his price tag covering headlines after every misstep. But after a promising start to his career, the investment in Martial seemed to be gaining justification. 50 million down the drain, Tony Martial scores again. These were the chants being sung at Old Trafford in his first season with Manchester United. 9 years have passed since then, and Anthony Martial's career has been a peculiar one to follow. Of course, injuries played a part in this, but there have been a lot of other factors that have derailed Martial's promising potential from materializing. A product of the Monaco super team, let's take a look at what happened to the next Thierry Henry. Anthony Martial spent his youth years playing for les Ulis, a team in Paris for which Thierry Henry and Patrice Evra played in their younger days. His childhood friends remember how even at the age of 7, he was the local prodigy and the only one who was allowed to play with the bigger boys. Martial hails from a family that was always obsessed with football, with his father being an amateur player back in the day. He was the youngest of 3 sons, with both elder brothers, Dorian and Johan, going on to play for French clubs. In 2009, Anthony Martial joined the Lyon Youth Academy at the age of 14. He was already being pitted as a hot prospect in France. After an impressive 3 years at the academy, he became one of the most sought-after youngsters on the continent. Monaco was building a team full of young ballers before their 2016-17 Ligue 1 winning season. One such purchase came in 2013, when a 17-year-old Martial came from Olympique Lyon's B team for a whopping 5 million euros, an amount that has been normalized over the past decade, but turned a lot of heads back then. Claudio Ranieri was in charge of AS Monaco and remembers watching Martial play for Monaco's U21 side. He was very impressed with his dribbling and strength up front and asked the club to make the purchase. Even though the 5 million euro price tag seemed steep for an inexperienced teenager, the investment proved to grow tenfold within a couple of years. At Monaco, he played 70 games in 2 seasons, from 2013 to 2015, bagging 15 goals and 8 assists. He played as a striker and made his dribbling look effortless. He had great movement and was capable of composed finishing in front of goal. Composure in a striker is extremely valuable, and Martial looked great for his age in the role. As the 2015 summer transfer window rolled in, big European clubs were sniffing around Monaco's young potential-filled players. Real Madrid, Manchester City, PSG and Chelsea were all seemingly interested in purchasing a 19-year-old Martial, but Louis van Gaal was the first to act, and Martial was brought to the Theatre of Dreams on deadline day in September 2015. The English press had a reputation for putting blatant pressure on big money signings, especially for a club like Manchester United. A few weeks after his arrival, the details of the 3 clauses were revealed. The Ballon d'Or clause was seen as grounds for ridicule, as Martial was good, but a Ballon d'Or winner within 4 years? The media didn't think so, and soon it was a running joke in the papers and the public alike. Louis van Gaal made it very clear after the signing that it was made for the next United manager who would take his place and wasn't his signing. In his Dutch honesty, he admitted to the transfer fee being ridiculously high and was quick to mention it wasn't his choice, but one for the future. Imagine if someone told you that the most memorable moment of your 9-year-long Manchester United career would be your debut performance. On the 12th of September 2015, Martial came off the bench for his debut against Liverpool at Old Trafford. United were cruising ahead with a 2-goal advantage when Christian Benteke scored an outrageous overhead goal in the 84th minute. At 2-1 with barely 10 minutes left, the game was suddenly up for grabs for either side. But the uncertainty only lasted for a couple of minutes as Anthony Martial scored the most memorable goal of his career in the 86th minute. He received the ball on the left flank and drifted into the box, turning Skirtle around before a composed finish down the bottom right corner. Old Trafford rose to its feet as they started imagining the big things yet to come from this youngster. Martin Tyler also had quite a day at the office as he almost sounded disappointed while commentating on Benteke's ridiculous overhead goal, only to lose his mind screaming when Martial popped in his effort a minute later.
Girdle here. Oh yes! Welcome to Manchester United, Anthony Martial!
Anthony Martial's welcome to Manchester United was grand and expectations were through the roof. He followed this up with a brace in his first league start against Southampton, where a young Virgil van Dijk can be seen twisting and turning before conceding. In his first season, Anthony Martial scored a club-high 17 goals across all competitions for United and supplied 8 assists as well. He shared positional duties between left wing and centre forward almost equally, with better output in terms of goals and assists coming from the left wing. Martial's dribbling was seen as an asset that could be better utilised on the wing rather than centrally. The first season was a success. Martial's late goal in the FA Cup semi-final against Everton was crucial in bringing the trophy to Old Trafford. At the end of the 2015-16 season, he was bestowed with the Golden Boy Award, an award that has seen its fair share of hits and misses. But the future looked exciting and Martial was ready to be set loose on Premier League defences. The departure of Louis van Gaal would prove costly to Martial's output as the Dutch manager was replaced by the special one. Jose Mourinho at this stage of his career was extremely ruthless in terms of realistic expectations. He inherited a squad that didn't boast abundance in terms of individual quality. In the summer of 2016, 34-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic arrived at Old Trafford. This move guaranteed fewer minutes for Martial as the striker, but something behind the scenes took the cherry on top. Mourinho apparently texted Martial asking if he'd like to switch his number 9 to 11. Martial refused, only to find out later that his number had anyway been given to Ibrahimovic. This obviously doesn't bode well for the narrative of how Mourinho never trusted him from the beginning. Martial suddenly fell out of place with a new manager, a new striker, and a new jersey number 2. Almost like United had forgotten about this future investment and decided to switch gears and chase immediate success. A turbulent start with the new manager would prove to continue throughout his tenure. Mourinho and Martial did not seem to get along. They were never on the same wavelength. Ibrahimovic took over the striker job and Martial was left playing off the bench for him, or in the less favourable left wing position. Mourinho did give him plenty of chances on the pitch as he made 42 appearances in the 2016-17 season and collected 8 goals with a further 8 assists, but 31 of these appearances came from the left wing. Jose Mourinho wouldn't hold back on scrutinising Martial's performances and pointed out the lack of defensive contributions he made. He questioned his attitude in public settings and would barely give him a consistent string of starts, often opting for a player with better work rate instead. The 2017-18 season ended with 11 goals and 9 assists across all competitions for Martial. The majority of appearances again came at left wing. The start of the 2018-19 season was turbulent to say at the least. Ironically, Martial would have a purple patch where he would score in 5 consecutive league games just a month before Mourinho's departure in December. Gunnar Solskjaer would take over as the caretaker manager and Martial would soon play the best football of his entire career. But before we talk about Martial under Oli, it's important to mention the emergence of Marcus Rashford in the preceding years. Under Van Gaal's regime, a local academy product made his way to the first team. Marcus Rashford scored a brace on his debut in February of 2016, followed by another brace against Arsenal in the next match to help United win 3-2. A local boy with no money in terms of transfer fee was heralded with controlled expectations and much less pressure by fans and media alike. This allowed him to partake in matches as the striker or at left wing, the same positions as Martial. So Ibrahimovic's arrival next season ate into both of their minutes across campaigns. Even though Rashford and Martial had to share minutes at the same positions over the years, their chemistry on the pitch was undeniably strong. Under Ole, this combination was unleashed, with Martial on the left wing and Rashford playing as the striker. It worked out well, but looked a bit rigid at times. Rashford's dribbling and pace were underutilised, while Martial's movement and finishing would be limited. Then came the best season for Martial for Manchester United, as he was finally given the striker role as his own. Marcus Rashford was moved to the left wing, where he thrived as well. With Ole at the wheel, 2019-20 was one of the most exciting seasons for Manchester United fans post-Fergie. Martial and Rashford ended up with 17 goals each in the Premier League that season. Their link-up play was mesmerising to watch on some days, and it seemed to be finally popping off. The departure of Lukaku also meant the return of the number 9 jersey for Martial. But an injury-ridden next season also meant limited game time again. A club of Manchester United's stature cannot rely on inconsistent appearances from their main striker. The arrival of Edinson Cavani and Ronaldo's sensational return to Old Trafford further complicated Martial's role in the squad. Occasional injuries were manageable till 2019, but got so much worse after that. Martial missed 17 games due to injury in 2020-21, the most in a United shirt till then. This reached 27 games missed in the 2022-23 season. The inconsistency in performances was affected by recurring injury problems, which increased over time. But the reason for his eventually underwhelming campaign at United cannot be solely attributed to injuries alone. They played a part, but Martial was given plenty of opportunities still. The potential was always on display, but circumstances never really favoured him to flourish. Fan criticism regarding lack of care due to his composed demeanour on the pitch didn't help either. But at the end of the day, he never really showed consistency that could be relied on at a big club. In January 2022, Martial was way down the pecking order and asked for a loan move to get regular football in the tank. He made 12 appearances for Sevilla and bagged a goal and an assist each in 6 months filled with injuries. Sevilla was not interested in signing him permanently, and questions regarding his lackluster attitude were discussed in Spain as well. One last chance under Ten Hag was provided, but inconsistent appearances due to injuries made it difficult to cement a starting spot. He made 48 appearances for Ten Hag and bagged 11 goals and 4 assists. A groin surgery in January 2024 kept him out for more than a month. The club then decided not to trigger his 1-year contract extension, which makes him a free agent in the 2024 summer transfer window. So do you think Martial can fit into another Premier League club this season? Does he flourish if a mid-table club gambles on him? Let me know your comments on why Martial never really worked out for Manchester United.